ever wonder what it truly takes to be a good person, a person who finds real, lasting life? It's a question that has been asked for centuries. A long time ago, a legal expert, someone who really knew the scriptures, came to Jesus to test him with this very question. He asked, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus, instead of just giving him an answer, turned it back on him. "What does the law say? How do you read it?" The expert had the answer ready. He replied, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." Jesus looked at him and said, "You've answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." But the expert wasn't satisfied. He wanted to justify himself, to narrow down the definition to fit his own worldview. So he asked a follow-up question, a question that changes everything. And who is my neighbor? Instead of giving a simple definition, Jesus told a story. Imagine a man traveling down the dangerous road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Suddenly, he's ambushed by robbers. They strip him of his clothes, beat him mercilessly, and leave him on the side of the road, half dead. His situation is desperate. Soon after, a priest comes along that same road. He sees the man lying there, bleeding and broken. You'd think he would help, right? But he doesn't. He sees the man, feels a twinge of something perhaps, but ultimately decides it's not his problem. He crosses to the other side of the road and continues on his journey, leaving the man to his fate. A little while later, another person of high religious standing, a Levite, comes by. He also sees the wounded man. He might have even slowed down a bit, curious. But just like the priest, he too makes a choice. He avoids the man and walks past on the other side. Two people who should have known better, who were seen as pillars of their community, chose to do nothing. Then a third person appears, a Samaritan. Now, you have to understand, Samaritans and Jews at that time did not get along. They were cultural and religious rivals. There was a deep-seated animosity between them. So, when this Samaritan came across the Jewish man lying beaten on the road, nobody would have expected him to stop, but he did. The story says that when he saw the man, he was moved with compassion. This wasn't just a feeling of pity, it was a deep, gut-wrenching empathy that moved him to action. He didn't hesitate. He got off his donkey, went over to the man, and began to care for him. He used his own oil and wine to clean and disinfect the wounds, then bandaged them. His care didn't stop there. He gently lifted the man onto his own animal and took him to the nearest inn. He didn't just drop him off. He stayed with him, personally taking care of him through the night. The next day, he knew he had to leave, but his responsibility didn't end. He gave the innkeeper 2 denarii. That's about 2 full days. Wages and said, "Take care of him. If it costs more, I'll reimburse you when I come back." He made a personal and financial commitment to a complete stranger, an enemy even. After telling this story, Jesus looked back at the legal expert and asked a simple question. So, which of these 3, the priest, the Levite, or the Samaritan do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert couldn't even bring himself to say the word Samaritan. He simply answered, "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus' final instruction was powerful and direct. Go and do likewise. This story completely redefines what it means to be a neighbor. It's not about who lives next to you, who shares your beliefs, or who is from your own country. A neighbor is anyone you encounter who is in need. And being a neighbor isn't a passive state. It's an action. It's about showing mercy, getting your hands dirty, and choosing compassion over convenience, even when it's costly. It challenges us to look beyond our own circles and see the humanity in everyone, especially those we are taught to ignore or dislike. The question isn't, who is my neighbor? The real question is, am I being a neighbor to others? Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content that makes you think. See you next time.